Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Who knows when you're listening to this, but welcome to episode number 60 of the Still City Insider podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jeremy Hritz, alongside Mr. Jim Wexell. Jim, how are you this wonderful week?
Great this wonderful week. I wish I was in Arizona at the owners meeting. I wish somebody would have paid for me to go, but I'm the owner, so I'm a little cheap on that kind of stuff. Not too much going on, but I like to hear comments over the some safety with it.
Yeah, it seems that you have a liking for Peterson. You think he's going to be a good addition here. But we're going to get into discussing about the safety position with the departure of Terrell Edmunds. Lots to talk about. We'll continue our discussion of free agency, but Jim, we've been talking about numbers of players. It's episode 60. So I came up with two guys, Greg Warren, recent long snapper, and then Ben McGee, which I'm guessing you probably have some background on. Defensive end, defensive tackle, drafted in the 4th round, 1964.
All right, so the Ben McGee episode, huh?
Yeah.
Greg Warren was a cool dude, and I'm pretty sure he won a ring, didn't he?
I believe so. Yeah.
It's a long snapper.
Yeah.
Ben McGee was in the original front four of the Steel Curtain. I don't know if they actually called it that, but he was put there. The year they drafted Dwight White and Ernie Holmes, he was there. The great '71 draft, he was there, and he was starting ahead of those guys. And Bad Rad came in, and he moved McGee out, but. McGee was also one of the guys that Buddy Parker tried to trade for an old washed-up quarterback that Dan Rooney said, no more. You're done.
So it's those those kinds of nuggets like that listeners can find in your book, On the Clock, right? So I know we want to get that in here at the beginning, but why don't you talk a little bit about On the Clock and where our listeners can find that?
Oh, you can get it at jimwexell.com, and you can get Polamalu and Steeler Nation there. And so it's 3 good books. I'm working on some others, but it's really good draft stuff, as you know.
Yeah. And
I don't want to talk too much about, I'm a terrible marketer.
Well, that's what I do.
Those are good books, but thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah. So, hey, let's jump right in here. A lot of movement since the last time we spoke. We've been doing this weekly now, so we're able to cover everything that happens, but we know that the team signed DeMonte Casey. He's returning, but Terrell Edmunds leaves Pittsburgh, goes to Philly, and now there seems to be a bit of a need. You talked about Patrick Peterson potentially playing some of that safety position. Mike Tomlin made some comments. But what type of pressure does this create a need for them in the draft or through free agency? So let's talk about safety, the safety dance.
Well, what do Mike Wagner, Donnie Shell, Carnell Lake, and Troy Polamalu have in common? They played in Super Bowls as the Steelers' strong safeties, and they're all in the Hall of Honor, and they all made plays. You can go down the list. Fumble recoveries, fumbles forced, interceptions, sacks. What did Terrell Edmunds say? He had like 5 picks in 5 full years. He was always available. And, I remember back in the older days when a more powerful front office was at work, they would not bring players back, even though the coach wanted them, to force the coach to do something else. So I don't know if that's the case here, but Terrell Edmunds it's easy for a coach to plug him in because he's rugged, he's tough, he's a great guy, he's always there, he knows his assignments, but he just doesn't make those plays.
Yeah.
So if the front office is making the coach do something, I'm all for Patrick Peterson playing free safety and Minkah playing strong safety. Minkah would be that key strong safety. And I know Tomlin was talking about right and left. It's not strong and free. But I would just like to see Peterson playing center field more and Minkah playing in the box all over the place, like Troy and like Donnie Shell and like Carnell Lake, that kind of great athlete that does all the dirty work, all the hard work. It makes it really breaks your body down, that position. And it didn't with Terrell Edmunds, which was his main asset, his availability, his ruggedness. And so, but Minkah's making a lot of money to be a center fielder. I'd like to see Patrick Peterson follow in the footsteps of Rod Woodson, bring this whole thing full circle. Because, I don't know, you did watch the 90s, and I don't know if you suffered the loss of Rod Woodson, watched him come back with the Ravens when they moved him to free safety at 34 years old. And he won a ring.
Yeah.
And it was horrible, wasn't it, Steelers fans?
I remember.
And so Steelers fans haven't gotten their pound of flesh from that yet. And so it would be cool if Patrick Peterson brings that all full circle, becomes a free safety, becomes that Hall of Fame corner, moving to free safety at the age of 33. Now, Patrick talked about that at his press conference. The Vikings, he was the man, straight up man cover, travel with the top receiver guy, and he had 29 career picks. They moved him off the line because he was losing that elite world-class athleticism you need to do that job he was doing, as Woodson did.
Yeah.
And so they moved him off into more zone coverage, more off man coverage. And he had 5 picks and 15 PB pass breakups, his most in 10 years. And he said it was because he was facing the quarterback. He didn't have to jerk his head around. He didn't have his back to the quarterback like a man coverage corner. Mm-hmm. So think about what facing the quarterback, what he can do as a free safety, seeing it all. And he talked about he's willing to do that. And now Tomlin talked yesterday that, yes, they're going to do some of that with Patrick Peterson.
Yeah. Yeah.
My dream is to make it full time. Because Minka is the only natural strong safety they have.
Yeah.
And Casey is more of a free safety because he's like 180 pounds. I don't know that he holds up as a box safety. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. He can tackle. Great open field tackle. He's tough. He throws his body around.
Yeah.
But he did miss some games last year. He's just not rugged like Terrell Edmunds.
Right.
So it'd be pretty cool if Patrick Peterson, at spring they line him up free safety because they will have drafted Joey Porter and maybe a slot corner with pick 49 or the 3rd round pick, something like that.
Yeah.
And then a safety in the later rounds who learns behind Peterson and Minka and steps into that free safety role eventually.
Yeah. Because that sounds great. That wrinkle with Peterson back there. I'm excited about that. And
let's do this.
Yes, let's do it. I love the veteran presence he's going to bring and just the intangible impact that it's going to have. But we are looking at a pretty thin safety room now. You have Casey, who, as you said, lacks maybe the durability to put his face in the fan, if you will, in terms of playing the run. And then you have Trey Norwood, who kind of took a step back in his development last year. They're going to need to draft a guy or add via free agency. Do you see them doing both or just drafting a guy later in this year's draft? Or what do you think their approach is going to be?
Well, they still have Killebrew and Carl Joseph. I forgot if they're free agents or not. I think they might be. Maybe not Killebrew, but they're still available. Good depth, decent depth. I always like Carl Joseph. He didn't play any. He hasn't played any in a couple of years. He's been on the practice squad. But they're available guys. The last guy, Rapp, was just signed by the Bills, and I know Bayard from Tennessee is rumored to be cut any day now. So
okay.
He would be expensive, but now there. Okay, bring him in, put him at strong safety, keep Patrick Peterson in the slot. Now you don't have to draft 3 defensive backs. You don't have to go 1987 on them.
And if I remember correctly, Tomlin is a big Bayard fan from Tennessee. So, who knows? Who knows? In other free agency news, the Steelers sign LaRaven Clark, swing tackle.
Nevermore.
Nevermore.
I can't imagine LaRaven is going to prevent them from drafting a tackle. LaRaven has some experience at left tackle. And so that allows you to draft the right tackle, Darnell Wright, who seems to be available in most mock drafts at pick 17.
Yeah.
My lighting okay, man. I look like a bright white face. I look like a ghoul, man. How do you get your lighting? It's so good.
I have professional standard lights down here.
Well, send that professional up to Irwin, Pennsylvania.
Hey, let me have a couple good months of day trading. I'll take care of you.
Okay.
So yeah, LaRaven Clark. I mean, he's just depth. It doesn't eliminate the need to draft a tackle. That's going to happen. You mentioned your boy Darnell Wright. I saw Ray Fittipaldo publish his second 7-round mock draft. I think he took your guy, number 17 overall there.
They all end up taking my guys.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad Jerry Dulac asked Tomlin about the safety position, because I was seeing a lot of fluff stories coming out of Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think someone was grilling Tomlin on what does he think about Cam Hayward being old? And the running game, the Steelers want to run the ball, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it was another story about Kenny Pickett's a fine young man. That's all great stuff.
We got to get you out there in that room to ask the questions.
You got to pay. Get that day trading working and
I'm telling you,
fair for me.
Oh my!
I don't mean to be cynical, but I just it's hard sitting here waiting for that who's playing safety news, because I just don't see Casey being the strong safety. I see him fitting into their 3 safety package. Great.
Yeah. And Tomlin did say that they're going to have to add to the position, the safety position, in his comments, whether that's through the draft or free agency. He didn't commit to either, but he said that they're going to have to. But it does change things a little bit with their draft strategy, because they're going to need to draft a safety. And you only have so many picks this year, and your 7th rounders really are, you're taking a chance on guys.
Yeah.
So, it's those first 4 rounds that's really going to make the biggest difference. One position that we haven't heard anything yet, with the rumor with Bud Dupree, who did in fact come and visit Pittsburgh last week. We haven't heard anything about him signing, but do you still think that that's on the table, or do you think we would have heard something by now?
Well, apparently the offer wasn't much, or maybe the medicals weren't good. So, but it doesn't rule them out.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man, you're right. I mean, there's only so many picks they have, so they've got to get some of these positions filled. Yeah, they filled the tight end position. It's the number 2 blocker. It's a great tight end draft, and so if that rules out drafting a tight end because of the limited picks for the holes that they have, that's a shame, because this is a good tight end draft. Zach Gentry, I love interviewing Zach. I love everything about him. I love his hands, but he's got to block better. He's got to block better. Just got to block better.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that rules out drafting a tight end with him being re-signed, or no, you think that's still on the table?
Yeah, they everybody likes to believe them when they say we take BPA, best player available, but they got to fill holes.
Yeah.
So I don't, Omar said the wide receiver position is not a problem. They knew they had wide receivers when they traded Chase Claypool. It's why they traded Chase Claypool. Mm-hmm. Okay, really? I mean, I did like what Anthony Miller did last year, but he didn't play. Yeah. He's a former starter for the Bears, a high draft pick, and he was on the practice squad 2 years ago with the Steelers, and then got hurt in camp last year. Is he one of the guys? Miles Boykin would need to be re-signed back if they want that gunner. Cody White, I know Mike Tomlin likes Cody White. He's been with the practice squad now 3 years. His dad is in the front office now, so
yeah. Got a little bit of sway there, I'm sure.
No. But it's fun to say that.
Yeah.
Fun to charge them with nepotism.
Yeah.
But it's not with the head coach. No.
So before we come back and talk the draft and just maybe revise or reevaluate where we were last week up to this week, let's kind of step outside of the Steelers organization for a moment to talk the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson and everything that's going on here. Apparently he requested a trade. He made that public via social media. I don't know if you're paying attention to this, but I know as a Steelers fan, I know I'm not supposed to be a Steelers fan. I'm part of the media, Jim, but I like to see this turmoil and chaos happening in Baltimore because
It's heartwarming, isn't it?
it is. It really is.
We got the Raven, and they lost a quarterback.
Yeah.
So maybe they're the ones saying nevermore.
Yeah. But that, I mean, for all the challenges that Jackson has in terms of being an accurate passer, you can't undermine his mobility. He is effective, but that's going to put some pressure on Baltimore to have an answer at quarterback. What are they going to do? Are they going to draft the guy? Are they going to go after Aaron Rodgers? What's going to
Hey,
happen in Baltimore?
guess who drafted a guy last year? So yeah, have fun, Baltimore. Have fun with that mess.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be Lamar Jackson just posturing for more money. So
Yeah.
it's hard to really read what's going on, but it's nice to see turmoil in
Yeah,
Baltimore.
it
That's
is.
right. I'm in the media too, so I'm just an objective observer. But so speaking for Steeler fans, I'm sure they feel heartwarmed by the turmoil in Baltimore.
Yes. Yes. And you know what? There is a free agent quarterback. His name's Mason Rudolph, who's available. You know,
Wouldn't that be something?
that would be something.
Yeah.
We
Geez,
call it
I
here
wonder if
first.
Mason would come back and haunt anybody. You know, I'm not down on Mason.
Yeah.
There were some problems I saw with his game, but there was a nice deep ball, and if you can hand off all day and play action and hit somebody deep, they have some speed at wide receiver, don't they?
They do.
Oh no, that's Cleveland. Cleveland added the speed at wide receiver.
They have some speed. They just don't have hands in Baltimore. That's the problem. So let's kind of bring this full circle, Jim. And we've been talking about the draft ad nauseum. Really, we've been hitting it
Ad nauseum. We've just started.
We've been hitting this since the season was over. What has your thought process changed on that 17th pick at all? Where are you at this week?
Well, without the safety, and if you're going to move Patrick Peterson to safety, which I'd love to do, this week you gotta have a corner. You gotta have a corner, and don't stretch the value. It's what they did with Artie Burns. So you could take one at 32. It's a deep crop of cornerbacks, and maybe Deonte Banks gets taken at 17.
Yeah,
or maybe you trade down slightly. But Joey Porter Jr., he now becomes the number one guy on my odds board. Darnell Wright had been, but now Joey Porter Jr. becomes that guy. I don't think they pass on him.
mm-hmm.
I really highly doubt. So that's where you got to go. And also, I'd like to see him get. I like that DJ Turner from Michigan as a slot guy in the third round, something like that.
Okay. And do you think Porter is going to fall, or do you think they're going to have to move up to get him at 17?
No, don't move up. They're not moving up. They're not moving. Like we talked about, they have minimal draft picks, maximal holes.
Yeah. Yeah.
They got to fill these holes. Deonte Banks is another corner. Of course, we're assuming Witherspoon and Gonzalez are drafted.
Yes. Yeah.
I do like Joey Porter to fit what they want better than Witherspoon, but I wouldn't complain about having Witherspoon.
So. Right. And then two players I want to just chat about a little bit, and we talked about them last week when Matt was on the show, and that's Mozzie Smith, the big defensive tackle. I'm seeing him connected to the Steelers a lot as being maybe one of their second round picks, but then also Luke Whippler. Whippler, am I pronouncing it right?
We talked about him, the Ohio State center.
The center,
like a third rounder. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had dinner with Tomlin. I think there were 4 Ohio State players that had dinner with Tomlin.
Yeah. So I see this as a deep center draft. I think we've talked about that. Do you think with Mason Cole, even though he's on the roster, he played okay, do you think they would try to upgrade, or no, that there's not a chance that?
I mean, they got all those guys play center. I don't have my Ciamalo list in front of me. I hope I just said it right.
You did.
I told you it's easy to say the Polynesian names if you look at it. I don't have the name in front of me. He can play center. Daniels can play center, and they have some. Nate Herbert can play center.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Herbig.
Am I getting old?
No, you're not getting old.
Okay, I'm forgetting these names, these new players. I remember my dad used to do that. I knew all the names like that, man. And so No, I mean, can you waste a pick on a center? I'd love to see it. That's best player available. I watched DeJuan Jones on tape. I can't see it. I was listening to Mike Pursuit on DV this morning, and he said he was studying Mike Tannenbaum's mock, in which DeJuan Jones and 4 other tackles were gone by the 17th pick. I can't see DeJuan Jones. I just think he's too tall, too big. When there's good change of direction or quick stunts in front of him, he's got the arm length. I mean, takes a taxi cab ride to get around, as they used to say about Max Starks. Max Starks was a 3rd rounder, and there were some flaws there. Just too big sometimes. Mike Adams never panned out. 6'7" and a quarter. I looked that up.
Okay.
Not 6'8" like DeJuan Jones. That's just so big. I just like the Darnell Wright. He's the 6'6".
Yeah.
That's massive to me. And small enough to adjust to quickness in front of you.
Right.
6'8", you lumber a little bit. But boy, he is big, and he moves them out in the run game. So I could see him maybe at 32.
Yeah. And he's more of a right tackle than he's going to be a left tackle, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, probably the same with Darnell Wright, too. But, then you're arguing who's worse, Dan Moore or Chukwuekorfor for. I don't think Dan Moore's reached his ceiling. We've talked about that last week. Okorafor, what you see is what you get.
Yep.
Which isn't bad. Good enough to get $10 million from him this year in salary. So.
Yeah. Well, Jim, I think that about covers it for this week. Anything else you want to hit on before we wrap up episode number 60?
No, we're going to start. We're going to be back with Matt. Matt agreed to come back because I told him I can't pay him. He said that's okay. He just likes the fame.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got 28 subscribers now.
I'm gonna. Well, we're on the Behind the Steel Curtain platform. We're getting a ton of action over there.
Yeah,
and we're gonna have Roy Countryman come on too.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna try to get BMAC on here again.
Nice.
Maybe we'll get the great Craig Wolfley on if we need to talk about.
Try to get Wolf. What about? I mean, we were at camp this past summer. We were just talking about Max Starks. Maybe we can get Max and Craig. We get the radio.
Yeah, but I just said that Max had some flaws in his game. I can't come back and have one because I know you'll bring them up. Hey, Jim was telling us about some flaws in your game last week, Max.
I wouldn't dare, Jim. I wouldn't dare. Plus, he can't get you through the video screen. You're protected.
He's got a long reach. I said he's 6'8", man.
That's true. That's true. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. Anyway, everybody, we appreciate your support for watching the show consistently. We appreciate your comments. Please continue to share with your family and friends. Like us, subscribe. And we're going to see you back here for episode 61. We'll have to do our research to find some players to go along with that number.
Man, I'm glad you came up with some number 60s because I was unsure.
See, I did my homework.
61. There's Roger Duffy was 61, wasn't he?
I don't know. That used to be 62? My number when I played. You know what position I played, Jim?
Center.
I was a center.
All right. So it'll be the Jeremy Hritz episode next week.
All conference back in the day. Anyway, you can check out Jim's work. See, I'm smart. I'm intelligent. That's why I was a center.
Oh, I know. Well, that's why you're the quarterback here. I know.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I'm the old guy forgetting names.
You're the insider, man. You're the draw. People come for you. You can check out, speaking of the insider, you can check out Jim's work at the Steel City Insider. Give him a follow on Twitter at Jim Wexell. You can check out my work at thestillstudy.com. Give me a follow at Still Study, and we will see you back here next week for episode number 61. Have a great week, everyone.